Greetings, friends. I'm AK.
And I'm Laura.
And we are
The Chainsaw Girls. On today's episode,
If you couldn't already tell if you're watching the YouTube video or by the title,
we are covering 1990s Child's Play 2. Dude, I am so effing pumped that we are covering this movie.
Chucky is one of my favorite horror icons, one of my first fears in life itself. I think that's why he became one of my favorites, like conquering your fears type thing.
Yeah.
And I will say that Child's Play 2 is one of my top of the entire franchise.
Yeah, me too. I am a huge fan of Seed of Chucky. I love Glenn. That one is my first one, my first favorite, but this is my second favorite.
Yeah, that is a very controversial, that's a hot take.
I know.
Loving Seed of Chucky is a hot take.
I know, but I do. I love it so much. But I love this one. Child's Play 2 is such a good movie.
And I think most people prefer this one. I think a lot of people have this as their number one. I really can't talk because Bride is my favorite. And I know people have mixed feelings about Bride too. It's nostalgic for me.
Yeah.
But I think Child's Play 2 is a safe bet across the board.
Yeah. And I will say, I love the first one as well.
I do too.
Oh my God. I love the first one is very scary to me. This one is scary, but the first one actually really scared me as a kid.
Yeah.
More so than this one. The cover of this one freaked me out.
Yeah. Is it this thing right here?
Yes.
Yeah. If you're looking on YouTube, I found this at Spencer's. It's like a little light up poster. It looks like a marquee.
It is
almost
so cute.
Wait, is marquee the word I'm looking for?
Yeah,
Okay,
marquee.
something like that. It lights up.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to read the IMDb.
Yes.
Let's do it. While Andy's mother is admitted to a psychiatric hospital, the young boy is placed in foster care, and Chucky, determined to claim Andy's soul, is not far behind.
Yes.
Damn that Chucky.
Damn that Chucky. We're assuming you already know at least the backstory of Chucky here and like the Andy and
If you
come on.
don't, honestly, I don't know why you're listening to this podcast. No, I'm just kidding.
At all.
But if you haven't, for some reason, seen the Child's Play movies, I strongly, strongly recommend you watch at least 1 and 2 before listening to this, because not much of it is going to make sense.
Yeah. Andy and his mother are the ones who mainly get attacked in the first one.
Yes.
And now we're back with Andy again.
Now we're with Andy, same actor.
Yes, same actor. I will say that as of right now, at the time of this recording, it's not streaming for free anywhere that I could find.
No, I had to rent it.
Yeah.
Honestly, I thought I had it, and I was very pissed when I realized I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to collect physical media.
Oh, I would love to collect this entire franchise.
Yeah, no, for sure. I want the VHSs too, actually.
Hell yeah.
So this was directed by John LaFia, and it was written by Don Mancini.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you a tiny little bit of backstory. Don Mancini wrote the original screenplay to Child's Play. I believe it was called Blood Buddy.
Bloody Buddy or something, right?
Something like that, yeah. And basically his version of the screenplay was changed heavily, became Child's Play. And I don't believe he had much say in the original film. It deterred from his vision. From the documentaries that I've watched a few of them. One is Living with Chucky.
I want to watch that.
It's good. And then there's another one on Shudder. That's another Chucky one. It gets really in depth, but I don't think he felt welcomed to give his takes or, things that he wanted in the film. I don't think he had much say in the first one. Whereas this one, way different story.
Yeah, Tom Holland, not the actor, directed the first one, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I think Don Mancini had a redemption arc, or I guess I should say, like, he got retribution, where he got to do the Chucky series for Sci-Fi more recently.
Yes.
And he really got to throw his creative vision in that one.
Absolutely. And Bride and Seed. And this one specifically, he really did. Like, this was his movie. And the producer, David Kirshner, was also the producer of the first one. And he talks about not having much creative freedom during the first one as well. So when they did this one, they really, both of them really could tell the story that they wanted to. And from what I read and saw, the director, John LaFia, was a fantastic director and also made John Mancini feel welcomed on the set and as a part of the team.
Aw, that's
Yeah,
great.
I think that's awesome because I
Yeah.
feel like, especially, to have your screenplay changed so much, and I understand that's the way the business goes.
I was just gonna say,
but I
yeah.
do really feel for him, and I'm so glad that he was able to take back
Yeah.
his vision, his story. Like he wasn't into the voodoo.
Okay.
That was not hidden in the original script.
Oh.
I think he leaned into it once it became part of the lore.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that was his vision
Okay.
before. I think I like the voodoo aspect of it personally.
too.
I think it's cool like that they included that in the first one. But I just love knowing that he got to tell the child's play that he wanted to, and he got to, tell his stories throughout
Yeah.
the whole franchise.
I am curious what he wanted it to be if it wasn't voodoo. Was it just going to be like the spirit went into the doll?
I don't know because I never read the original screenplay.
Okay.
But just from what I read and what I saw, he wasn't into the voodoo.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. Interesting. But I do think Charles Lee Ray was a serial killer though in the original. Maybe. Shit, I don't know. I would love to read his original screenplay. I wonder if it's out there somewhere.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah. Anyways, I love Don Mancini. I think he's just like
Me too.
a gem.
Yeah.
I love seeing interviews with him. I just think he's awesome, and I could go on and on and on, but I won't. But I want to, but I won't. Okay. Also, Brad Dourif is the voice of Chucky.
Yes.
And we have to talk about him for at least a second.
Yeah, we do.
I think he is a brilliant actor.
Mm-hmm.
And his voice work as Chucky, iconic.
Absolutely. And he gets to be Chucky across the board, except the remake, which I don't even want to count. We're not going to count it. We're not going to talk about it.
No way.
But he is Chucky across the board, including into the sci-fi series that they did. And I love that.
Me too.
A voice is so important and impactful.
Yeah.
Just like Robert Englund is Freddy Krueger. I don't care what anyone else says.
I'm with you 1,000%.
Yeah.
I guess during this film, it was really hard on him because Chucky's being tortured so much.
Yeah.
So he screams. His voice was just ruined after this.
I believe that.
And apparently he signed a 3-picture deal
Okay.
originally.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess they wouldn't have known how far it was going to go at that time.
No, exactly. 100%. Yeah. And as we go along, while we talk about the film, I'll give you lots of little tidbits because I have a whole bunch of them.
Hell yeah.
Yay.
Let's get into it.
Hell yeah. Oh, before we do, the budget, $13 million. It grossed $35.8 million.
Okay.
So it did well.
Sounds like it did well.
Yeah. And also the special effects, Kevin Yeager, I'm going to say is how you pronounce his name. I think it's important to note him because he designed Chucky. He had a huge hand in what Chucky looks like, how he moves, the puppeteering of him, and he worked with Brock Winkless as well on 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
So because Chucky is like the main focus, I think it's important to shed light on who exactly,
Yeah.
worked on him and brought him to life.
How did he come to be?
Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
All right.
I also read that even though they did well in the box office, they dominated the box office like the weeks that it came out, right?
Yeah.
It didn't get great reviews at first.
No, the reviews were like, oh, it's just a bloodbath. They're just setting up people to get killed.
I mean, yeah.
Like, yeah, but there was a
They're not,
story.
but yeah.
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 I just like critics, whatever. I understand there's a place for them, blah, blah, blah. But
Blah, blah, blah. Indeed.
anyways, moving
So-
along.
I actually made a note about even the opening Universal logo. That logo for Universal and the song just takes me back
Me too.
to a special time.
Me too.
happy
Absolutely.
place.
I know. And it landed at Universal
Yeah.
after being it was originally with a different company. That company was bought by an Australian company, and that specific Australian company wanted a more child-friendly product. So So David Kirshner worked with Steven Spielberg on American Tail, and Steven Spielberg was like, "Hey, why don't you bring it to Universal first? Bring the screenplay to Universal first. Just do me this favor." And he did. And so Steven Spielberg had a hand in, this movie coming to life
Hell yeah.
and being part of the Universal family.
That's awesome.
I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it is really cool. This Child's Play also has my favorite theme song, I think, of the entire franchise.
What is it?
You too?
Yeah, what is it?
The theme song.
Like the do do
Oh,
do.
yeah.
Dude, when he comes out of that closet,
Oh, yeah, they're playing it in that scene. Yes. Oh, we're gonna get there. We're gonna get
too
there.
excited. All right.
And I know I keep mentioning the series and I keep cutting us off before we get into it.
I am too. Hello.
But-
I keep doing it too.
Also, they used a version of that song in Don Mancini's Chucky series for Sci-Fi. It's a slightly different version, but that version, and I just love it so much.
It injects like dopamine into my body.
I shouldn't do that. I'm like,
This injects. Okay. All right.
actually getting into it. Mm-hmm. Okay, Chucky's been burnt to a crisp in Child's Play 1.
Sure was. Mm-hmm.
And that's not what it's called, but you know what I mean. The first Child's Play.
Mm-hmm.
We basically are getting an up close show of his burnt head and how they are fixing him.
Yeah, like remolding him, recasting him. Yeah, refurbishing him. One thing I have to say, the fact that he is like metal, like his head was metal.
Yeah, that threw me off. I was like, oh my gosh, it's like Jason X.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I didn't expect a children's toy to have a metal head.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Really cool visuals.
Yes, and we are at the Play Pals Toys factory.
This factory, I cannot wait to talk about the factory. It is incredible.
It's the main thing that I remember from this movie is the factory scene toward the end.
Yeah, the third act. Oh, it's the best.
I think it was last year, Universal Studios for Halloween Horror Nights had a Chucky house, and it was, the outside was all the boxes. Oh my gosh. And they were playing that fucking song.
I'm like, I almost just had tears in my eyes that I didn't get to go.
I'm sorry.
No, that's amazing.
I'll show you pictures.
Please.
So we find out that Andy is basically in like a foster care center,
He
right?
is, yeah.
And he's being held, his mother is being held for psychiatric evaluation because she backed up her son's claims in court about Chucky being alive.
Yes, and for some reason the cops pretended like that isn't what actually happened, and they like kayfabed it.
Yeah.
So she ended up having to go to an institution. And I guess the actress, Catherine Hicks, was not too happy about that.
Was she doing Seventh Heaven at the time?
I don't know if she was, but from what I remember from the documentary I watched, like she wanted to be in the second one.
Oh, she did?
Yeah,
okay.
but they just went a different direction.
Got it.
So
Okay.
she wasn't thrilled that her character was put into an institution.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
So there are two workers back at the factory. We kind of cut back and forth to Andy and then to Chucky being rebuilt. There are two workers at the factory putting Chucky's eyes in, and the machine malfunctions.
Yeah, so there are these two men, the stockholders of the company, are walking together and they're like discussing all of the stuff that happened in the first one.
Yeah.
And the one stockholder is like really angry, and his like sidekick is like fumbling around trying to like, appease him.
Yeah.
And they're looking in on one of the Chuckies being like assembled.
Yeah.
Essentially.
So the workers are trying to fix this jam, and that his little lackey or whatever is like, oh, don't worry, they're gonna fix this problem. No worries, because they're trying to like save their image after what happened with whatever happened with this kid and the mothers in the institution. So they're worried about that. So the workers do fix the machine, and the eyes go into the doll. It's like it's such a 90s thing. The whole, all the contraptions that put this doll together. I'm sure factory lines really look like that, but it just reminds me of, especially later when we see all the contraptions, like Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Yeah, totally. It reminded me of like the Science Center.
Yeah.
The Ontario Science Center. It really did.
So the eyes go into the head. That is what happens. I'm like, that's not right. Yes, the eyes go into the head. And then they like send electricity through this machine and they fry one of the workers.
Yeah, I thought it was like Chucky's, like, because of like the voodoo. I think it caused some kind of malfunction, and it this sends a charge of electricity, and the one dude gets like propelled through a glass window.
Yeah. And
like
then his
it
face...
is a massive bump right at the beginning of the movie.
They start off hot, literally.
Oh yeah.
His face is fried. I did think that it was Chucky that was doing it. And on purpose, because it's Chucky, of course.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So we go back to Andy. He's talking to a social worker. He's telling the Chucky lore, basically.
Yeah.
The guy's trying to get him to, I don't know, relive his trauma, I guess. And he tells Andy, no, that was a dream. It's okay. That was a dream. Dreams can't hurt you. And he's like, okay.
Poor Andy.
I know. We go back to the factory. The paramedics are coming for Fried Guy. That's what I wrote. Fried Guy. And the Chucky doll is now off the table and it's sitting on the floor and it's fully intact.
Yes. And there's a line that one of the stockholders says to the other guy. He's like, stick it up your ass. And I guess the actor loved that line. And there's like backstory on that actor being part of the franchise or being part of this movie, sorry. But he loved that line.
I do too, actually.
Me too. Me too.
So we know that Andy at this point is in a foster home. Not a foster home. What is it called?
It's like a foster care center.
Yes. And they're looking for a foster home.
Yes.
Looking for foster parents, someone to foster Andy until his mother recovers. So the foster care worker is talking to a set of parents, basically telling him, I mean, good for her. She's being transparent. Like, this is what happened with him.
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't know. Should we take him in? Should we do that? And they do decide to take him in.
Yes, this is Joanne and Mr. Simpson. And Mr. Simpson's actual name is Phil, I believe. It's Phil and Joanne.
Phil and Joanne, yes. That is correct.
Yep. And Phil is very apprehensive about taking Andy.
He is. The social worker's like, it's okay. Obviously, this was just his way of coping with trauma.
Right.
Which I do understand why they would think that.
Yeah, of course.
So the family decides to foster Andy. And this house that they bring him to.
I have so many notes about the fucking house.
Please go ahead.
It is the ugliest fucking house I've ever seen. Dude, those walls, they're like Pepto-Bismol pink. And then the trim is like teal.
Yeah.
It's so, and there's like these weird antiques everywhere.
Yeah.
Nothing matches. The couches are super ugly and like floral, but like pukey floral. It is the ugliest house I've ever seen.
And on top of being ugly, it is not childproof at all.
Not even a little bit.
And we do end up finding out that they are fostering more than just Andy. So why do you have a house that's so you don't want anyone to move in it or run in it or touch anything, but you're bringing all these kids in your house? Like, what do you expect?
Yeah, it just doesn't seem like they're well equipped to be foster parents.
No, and the dad definitely is more leery and doesn't seem to want to be into it. I wonder if the mother's convincing him, because she does seem like she has good intentions at first.
I think Joanne throughout the movie, for the most part, like, it has a lot more compassion than Phil.
Yes.
Phil is an asshole.
He is an asshole, honestly.
I just found him to be like, he has no empathy at all. And listen, I understand some of his concerns. Like, they're valid concerns, but the way he goes about things, it's so shitty, and he just is so mean to Andy throughout the movie.
Yeah, and he's very uptight. So immediately, Andy goes to touch some figurine, some statue in the living room.
Yeah.
And he's like, no. Rule number 1, don't touch anything.
That's been in the family for like generations at one point. Like, it's just take it easy. No one cares that much about your antiques.
Right, except you. So then we meet Kyle, who is another girl that they are fostering. She's older. She's a teenager, and she's very rebellious.
I love Kyle. The actress that plays Kyle, I believe her name is Christine Ellis, and Alex Vincent, who plays Andy, got very close on set.
Oh, I bet they had so many scenes together, like almost the whole movie.
Yeah, I love that.
So they walk into her room. Joanne brings Andy in there to meet her. She's smoking cigarettes in the house. Yeah, which also is gross, but it's the 90s. And she introduces Andy to his room then, and it's full of toys. She made these curtains for him. They have like little planes on them.
See, I do think she's well intentioned.
Yeah.
She wants him to feel excited to be there.
Yeah.
And it is a cute room.
It is cute, and just the fact that it was full of toys, and she's like, here you go, I made these for you. Like, it was really sweet.
Yeah.
But he's, digging through the closet, and out falls a good guy doll. Obviously, he's going to be traumatized by this thing, but it does start to speak, and it says its name is Tommy.
Which is a legit nod to the director, Tom Holland. And if you'll remember later in the movie, Chucky like calls him an idiot and digs a grave and throws him in it.
And I think bashes his face in, too. So I'm guessing maybe they didn't like Tommy. Okay, we don't know.
No, really. That was literally like a fuck you. Yeah.
Damn.
I guess. According to this documentary I watched.
According to the documentary, we didn't say
Don't
this.
Quote
they
me.
did.
Don't quote me.
Okay, so good guy doll falls on him. He's freaking out. He starts to run. Phil comes in. He's like, rule number 2, no running in the house. Like, I do understand having rules, but it's just like, he's just annoying me already.
You know why he's super annoying is he's not like, there's no nuance in Phil.
Yeah.
He's just very black and white thinking.
He's pretty one-dimensional.
Yeah, I think that's part of the reason. The actor talking about it was a hoot.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it really was. But yeah, he's a douche in this.
Do you know why he was putting all the toys in his back seat? Do you remember by chance? It's not important, but
I think he was taking the one that like malfunctioned.
Okay.
I think that's the one that he was taking.
okay. Because he did have more toys in his back seat. He just had a bunch of shit. He works at the toy factory, whatever.
Yeah, I think there could be like what is it called, like prototypes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Who knows? He works there. I think on my paper I called him corporate asshole.
I wrote little nerdy assistant dude.
He is like a bumbling idiot, fumbling idiot, whatever the expression is, throughout this movie and tries to be so cool.
Oh my gosh. So he starts driving with Chucky in the back seat. He gets on the phone.
Yeah.
On his car phone.
I pop for the car phone.
It is what, 1990?
Yeah.
Shit. Mm-hmm. And he's talking to some, assuming he has a hot date, it sounds like.
He does, but I don't know why. I just thought the conversation was really funny because when he calls her, he's like, oh, you do know who it is. Happy 2-week anniversary. Oh, don't worry, I'll get the vodka. And he's like all excited. And in the back of my mind, I'm going, I don't think this girl's really that into you.
I'm so glad he wrote down what he said because I didn't, and I remembered it was weird.
Yeah.
Oh, you do know who this is. 2-week anniversary.
Like, for him to be excited that she knows who's calling her is like a little bit like,
I just already put this whole story behind it, like a backstory, because of that opening line of, oh, you do know who it is. I was like, he's stalking this girl. They're not really dating. He's saying happy anniversary, but really it's like the anniversary of when they met. I just created this whole backstory.
I love that you did. Honestly, I took it as like, this guy is way more into this girl than she's into him.
Maybe that too.
So he pulls up to the liquor store, and also he has like a key fob. And in my mind, it was like how they're telling the audience that he's rich.
Oh, yeah. Key fob in the 1990s.
I thought you were about to say 1900s.
It was. Key fob in the 1900s. That's true. So,
Oh, it's funny.
yes, he's at the liquor store. We see Chucky's eyes start moving in the back seat of his car.
Yep.
And he looks right at the car phone.
Oh, yeah.
And the next scene we see is the foster care center gets a phone call. And on the other end of the line, when the woman picks up, he's like, hey, I'm trying to reach Andy Barkley.
Yeah.
Which we've come to find out, it sounds like she just gave him the address.
Okay, I was going to say the exact same thing. Why would you do that?
You shouldn't.
Ever.
Other than, I guess, it was the 90s.
It was the 90s, and like, I don't think, yeah, I feel like that's part of it.
That
like,
has to be it.
privacy wasn't as, I suppose, there weren't so many hoops to jump through. I don't know. I'm very glad that it's not appropriate now.
Yeah. So when the guy starts driving, he gets back in the car after the liquor store.
Oh, but before he does, he tries to pay with a gold card. Oh, yeah. And he's so over the top about it. That's why I'm saying, like, this girl cannot be that into him.
He's like, that's a gold card. The guy's like, we don't take credit cards. It's just cash only. He's like, that's a gold card.
Yeah, like, he just, like, to me, he comes across like, he's just like, look how much money I have. I'm so cool.
Yeah, he's definitely being set up so that we don't feel bad when he eventually dies.
I think that's the point. Yes, absolutely.
So when he does start driving, Chucky has a gun. I'm like, where the hell did he get that from? Holds it to his head, forces him to drive. And we find out that he's making him drive to Andy's. And that's where I was like, oh, so she just gave him the address.
And he straight up goes, park this piece of shit.
He has so many good one-liners.
Oh, he's the best. Yeah.
So at the very end, Chucky's like, bang, you're dead, and squirts him. It was a fucking water gun.
Yeah, he's just fucking with him.
And then he suffocates him with a plastic bag.
Dude, I think that scene is like horrifying.
It is. It's brutal.
And I think it's a nod to the first one because there's a scene like that in the first one.
I do think so. I haven't seen it in a long time, but it sounds familiar.
I'm pretty sure, unless I'm like completely making that up, which is also a possibility, but I'm pretty sure there is. And the stunt guy that did that, they had to shoot it in like tiny increments so that he could take a deep breath before doing it again because that's a real bag.
Oh.
Because think about it, this is the 90s. There's no CG.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a little bit of CG, but for the most part, it's practical.
I know what you mean, yeah. Also, were his hands free?
No, they were, because didn't Chucky tell him to put his hands behind the seat?
Oh, maybe he did. Okay, that's even more fucking terrifying.
Yeah, he instructs him to do it, and the guy's like crying, and
that's brutal.
It's pretty terrifying.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we cut to Andy. Joanne is reading him a bedtime story. She's very sweet. Mm-hmm. And she changes the ending of Hansel and Gretel, which I thought was very considerate. Mm-hmm. She's like, and they live happily ever after, or whatever it was.
And Andy's like, I don't think that's how it ends or
Yeah,
something.
he's like, no, they don't.
Yeah.
Chucky is now in the house.
Yeah, and it's really cool. I love his POV. Like him walking up to the house and stuff. I think I always love when you get to see the POV of the killer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Chucky finds the other good guy doll in the house, Tommy, and he smashes his face in, says all the lines you mentioned earlier, and then, yes, buries him in the backyard, right underneath the swing for some reason. Like one of the most heavily trafficked areas.
I know. I did question that. Like, and obviously, it comes into play later and blah, blah, blah. But I do think it's funny that he goes and like digs a grave.
Yeah.
And like nobody notices that there's a fresh grave there.
Yeah.
But I guess like when you're on the swing set, like the ground underneath the swing does get like really beat up.
You know what? Maybe that does make sense. So maybe that's why he chose that, because it's already dug or already fucked up.
Yeah, because like the grass probably wouldn't grow there because you're constantly like, So that actually does make sense.
It does. I would put him in the flower bed, but that's just me.
Oh.
They had a flower bed. That's the only reason I'm saying that, is because Kyle does work in the flower beds.
I'm like, so what else do you know about burying a body, AK?
Anyway, so smashes him. Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say too. Is he could have just threw him in the garbage, but that was like personal.
Oh, I think it was personal. I think it was like, I'm ending you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the next morning,
he does hate the doll body.
He does.
Like Chucky throughout the whole series until. I would say, like, even the series, he leans into liking the body a little, like the doll body a little bit. But for the most part, at this point, anyways, he wants out of the doll.
Yes.
Because he's going to get stuck in it forever if he doesn't get his ass out of there.
Yeah, he's turning too human. He's starting to bleed. And that's how he knows that eventually he will be stuck.
Exactly.
So the next morning, that precious porcelain figure is shattered. Mm-hmm. And nobody wants to fess up to who broke it.
Because nobody did. It was Chucky.
None of them did, exactly. And neither of them will admit it because neither of them did it, and they both get grounded.
Yeah.
So Kyle and Andy are both in the laundry room.
Yeah.
I wrote, not Andy taking a hit of Kyle's cigarette.
I know.
I'm sure it was a fake cigarette, but still.
It was funny.
I hope.
It was like
was
very
90.
It was very 90s. That's what I thought. It was very 90s. That little quip that he says, do you want to hear your name backwards?
Yeah.
That was his line.
Really?
Yeah, he stole it from his music teacher.
That's so cute.
Isn't that cute?
It's his little nerdy joke. He says, do you want to hear me say your name backwards? And he just turns his back to her and goes, Kyle.
I think it's so cute.
It is really cute. And I love that they're showing rapport between, like, Kyle and Andy are starting to build rapport together.
Yeah, I think Kyle really wants to make Andy feel, like he has a friend.
Yeah, she's been through the foster care system her whole life since she was like 5, I think she said.
Yeah, she's been in a lot of homes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I mean, she is a teenager too, so she doesn't necessarily do the best thing in this scenario.
No, of course.
But she's a kid herself, even though she doesn't think she is. And she does tell Andy, we're just temporary, basically, here in their lives. Like, they don't really, she doesn't say it in a mean way, but she basically does say, like, they don't really care about us. We're just here for a short time.
And honestly, like, I don't fault her for her honesty.
Yeah.
Like, it's a hard truth. Yeah. It's a hard thing to hear. But I also feel like Andy is so sweet and innocent, and like the Phil is not treating him well.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? So maybe she feels like if she tells him that there's light at the end of the tunnel, that he won't have to like stay there. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure what the intentions were, except that she's just being brutally honest with him.
She's being honest. Yeah. And I don't even know what the right move is there, to be honest.
100%. Yeah.
But I think this did scare Andy a little bit, because then he goes upstairs and he cracks the door of the basement open and he overhears the parents basically having second thoughts about him because of his trauma.
Yep.
And this bothers him, and he goes and gets what he thinks is the Tommy doll, right? And he first looks at it and he says, I hate you. And then it's like, hi, I'm Tommy, which I loved. It shows his eyes shift before he says it.
Yeah, like he's like, wait, what is my name again?
Because we know this is Chucky. And then Andy makes sure that the batteries are in this doll, which I love, because that was a part in Child's Play, the first one.
Yeah, I loved it.
Where they realize this doll is talking and there are no batteries inside.
Yeah, when the mother discovers that, it's my favorite scene in the entire first one. It's so good.
So good. But there are batteries in this one, so he's safe, he thinks. Uh-huh. And he lets the parents see him carrying the doll downstairs. Like, look, see, I'm not traumatized.
That broke my heart into like a million pieces.
Because he's scared and he's just trying to be accepted and not left and not sent back, basically.
Oh, God. Being a little kid is hard. And being a kid in that situation, heartbreaking.
Yeah. So Andy and Kyle now are playing on the swing, which we know is right above where Chucky buried the other doll. And we don't see anything happen quite yet. We see that Joanne, for example, she's sewing something for Kyle, which is also really sweet, even though I don't think Kyle's going to want to wear it. It's like polka dots.
And that sewing machine looks like it's from like the 1500s.
Yeah, it really does.
I was like, what is this? I know she likes antiques, but like, how is that thing even working?
It does. It looks like an antique sewing machine.
Like from, what do you think? Like the 1700s?
I mean, I was going to say like 1930, but
okay.
Only because I think my grandma had one like that.
Can't just ignore me over here.
No, it could be. I also have no idea when sewing machines were invented.
I don't either. Oh my God. Do you think people that made those big dresses from like the 1500s hand sewed that shit?
Yeah. Well, what is the thing? What is that giant spool that's like in Rapunzel?
Oh.
Wait, is that Rapunzel? The golden thread? No, Rumpelstiltskin. Isn't he? I don't know. Look, we're going off the. We're about to go off the deep end in a second because we are delirious right now. We're gonna move on. Ooh. So Andy wakes up, and he's tied to the bed and gagged, and Chucky is on top of him. Chucky starts doing his voodoo ritual, calling to Damballa, right?
Yeah.
And he's interrupted when Kyle starts sneaking through the window.
Yep.
So saved by Kyle. Kyle's like, what the fuck is going on? Because of course Chucky's just like, this ain't over. And he goes back into doll mode.
Yeah. And like, what is so hilarious to me about this entire scene is like, Phil, Joanne, they bust in. They're all upset. They're like, what are you doing in here? Like, whatever.
Yeah.
They think that Kyle tied up Andy.
Yeah.
And then Kyle thinks that Andy tied himself up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, does nobody have any critical thinking skills here?
For Kyle, I'm wondering, how did you think he physically tied up all of his limbs?
That is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I understand why the parents thought Kyle did it, because they walk in on her untying him, and who else would have done it, right? Who else could have tied him up?
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, that's true. But I also think that, like, especially Phil, he always jumps to, like, the worst possible, like, scenario, and he just blames, he's very, like, he blames the kids for a lot. I don't think he's he shouldn't be a foster parent. Anyway.
He does. I do think I would be like, Kyle, what were you doing? But I don't understand.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. Yeah.
I don't understand why Kyle thought Andy tied up both of his own hands.
How could you even do that?
But maybe, I don't know, who knows? Maybe she was just like, you know what? I'm going to ask questions later. Let me just untie you.
She was also out. So who knows? Like maybe she was a little stony or something.
Yeah, that's possible. So Andy is telling them it was Chucky.
Yes.
And I love when Kyle does get one of his hands free. He just punches Chucky off of him. I love that part.
I know, it's so cute.
The dad is like, I've had enough of this shit already, even though it's been like, I don't know, 12 hours of you in this house. He takes Chucky and throws him down the stairs of the basement.
Yeah, and basically says like, see, he's gone. We got rid of him. It's like, actually, Phil, you didn't get rid of him. You just threw him down in the basement, but whatever.
Yeah. He's like, he can't hurt you anymore. Shut the door.
Which, listen, I do understand from one point of view is like you're tired and you're just like, the fucking doll's not alive.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, this is not Phil's first time being a dick. So
yeah, that's the thing. The little things are adding up. That's the problem.
Exactly.
So we see that Chucky's nose is bleeding here. And that's where he starts freaking out. Like, fuck, I'm turning human. I got to get out of this body. Now the next day, Chucky, he follows Andy to school. Right? I don't remember exactly. Did he go in a backpack? Did he jump on the bus? I don't remember that part exactly.
No, so Andy is like climbing on the school bus, and first of all, it's such a sad scene because he's like all by himself and the kids are just being kids, and he sits at the back of the bus, and as the bus takes off, we see Chucky's feet dangling from the bottom of the bus.
Oh my gosh. So he's like underneath the bus.
He's under the bus.
Okay.
Yeah.
I knew he hitched a ride somehow because I knew he followed him there. And Chucky gets into the classroom before anyone's in there, and he starts going through all the homework, like all this paperwork.
Yeah.
We see when the teacher starts going through all the papers that he found Andy's, of course, and wrote, "Fuck you, bitch," across the entire paper in like a red crayon.
Yeah, and a huge red crayon. And Mrs. Kettle, is it Mrs.
Kettleman, I think.
Kettleman. Miss Kettleman is a very strict teacher. You can tell by the way that she talks to the kids and by the way that she talks to Andy.
And really just by the way that she looks. She looks like she's a pilgrim.
Like she...
Okay, not quite. She doesn't have the bonnet.
That's the last thing I thought you were going to say.
I don't know what I was gonna say.
She looks cranky, and what a kid like does something shitty to Andy, so Andy's like does something back, and then the of course the teacher's like, what are you doing there? Like,
yeah, of course he gets blamed for it.
he gets blamed for it. I can't even get it out because it made me so mad. I was like,
I love Andy's line here to the little kid that was picking on him. He goes, "Get lost, microchip." What the fuck does that even mean? Was microchip a popular insult in 1990?
I don't know. What does that mean? Somebody Google it. Someone Google it for us.
We weren't old enough to know that part.
No.
So we weren't insulting people yet.
Right.
So now Andy has to stay in class. I think all the kids are going on recess or something.
Yeah, he gets detention for writing that on the paper.
Yes.
And it's after school. He has to stay after school.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he has to sit in the classroom with his head down.
Yes. And he's already tried to blame Chucky for the fuck you bitch.
Yes, and that's important to note because the teacher takes Chucky and locks him in the closet.
That's right.
She also locks Andy in the room by himself and fucking leaves.
Dude, I wrote that in my notes too. That is so 90s.
I think after every single thing we say, we could be like, it was the 90s.
No, for real. Yeah.
So Chucky's locked in the closet, and now he's banging on the door and he's yelling. He's trying to get Andy. He wants out, obviously.
And he gets like he's aggressive. He like gets increasingly aggressive.
His voice actually does scare me.
Me too.
When he gets really, really angry, and the doll's face when it gets like scrunched.
Like contorted.
Like, yeah.
Oh my, at the third act when he absolutely loses his shit.
Yeah.
Woo.
It's actually terrifying. I mean, this was my first fear as a child. Mm-hmm. So Andy, he like jumps out a window, right? He escapes out the window.
Yeah, he escapes. And when Mrs. Kettle, what is her name?
Kettleman.
I just want to call her Mrs. Kettleworth so badly.
I just called her teacher.
Okay, well, she comes back in and Andy's gone and she thinks Andy's in the closet that she locked.
Yeah, because someone's banging on the door. Why wouldn't she think that?
So apparently Andy is like MacGyver and can pick locks. So she opens it up and she thinks it's like a gotcha moment, but obviously Andy's not in there. So she takes another step in and she's like, "Where are you, Andy? This is not a joke." Blah, 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 blah. And then like a ball falls on her.
Yeah.
And she's like, like startled by it. And then she's like, "Oh, it's just a dodgeball." Which, by the way, dodgeball, horrible game. Horrible game.
To let kids play. Also, this is the biggest closet I think a classroom probably ever had in history.
Okay, I thought the exact same thing. It reminded me of the closet in like our gymnasium when I was in elementary school.
It's gigantic.
Did I ever tell you about Mr. Sussman, my gym teacher?
His name was Sussman.
Sussman.
No, you did not.
I feel like I shouldn't say anything bad about him, but he used to ask the kids if they had ants in their pants.
Does that mean like they're fidgety?
Yeah, but it was so mean. He'd be like, "What, do you got ants in your pants?" And I remember he said it to me once and it like made me feel so stupid. And then my dad came for like parent teacher night and my dad and him were like talking and being friends. And I remember feeling like he was such a traitor.
Oh no. Wait, why would he say it as an insult? Like he was like making fun of you for like not sitting still or something?
He would say it to all the kids all the time. If they were like fidgeting, he'd be like, "What, do you got ants in your pants?" And like as an adult, I'm like, what a weird thing to say.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, sorry, I digress. But
No,
it just
it's okay.
that whole scene just reminded me of like mean teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she thinks that, oh, Andy must be behind this, I don't know, rack of clothes, whatever the fuck is going on in that closet. It's huge.
It's a big closet.
And Chucky pops out with an air pump that you pump up like a basketball with. This freaks me the fuck out. He stabs her with it and then pushes the air out, which I thought that was going to kill her right away. Mm-hmm. It doesn't. Like, imagine he stabbed her in her heart and it just explodes.
Dude, so scary.
That's not quite what happened. It didn't look like she died. And then
she like kind of stumbles out of the closet and she ends up where the desks are.
Yeah. She falls over and he approaches her with this gigantic yardstick.
Dude, the music kicks in.
The theme song.
The theme song kicks in and he's holding the yardstick.
And he has his evil contorted face.
And he's like tapping it against his hand. Mm-hmm. You know, like, oh, it's such a cool scene, man.
And then we don't really see it happen. We see close-ups of her face and then we see from the window just the ruler, like he's just beating her with the ruler. I will say it's not my favorite kill only because it doesn't feel like a realistic object to kill someone with. I think she would be hurt really bad, but I just don't think you're going to kill someone with a ruler by hitting them.
Oh, I never thought of it that way.
It is a cool scene.
I think because Chucky is like not human, that's why I like accepted, and because he blew air in her.
Yeah.
So I feel like she was like half dead already.
I thought that was going to kill her. And who knows? Chucky could have like shoved it down her throat afterwards. We don't know.
Yeah, but I think it's such a vicious scene. And I think it's up there as one of my favorite scenes in the franchise. And I have that Chucky somewhere with the yardstick.
Yeah, a lot of people talk about that scene. It's very memorable for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
So back home, Phil, right? That's his name? Mm-hmm. Okay,
Phil.
I wrote the dad.
Yeah, Phil.
Phil makes Andy open the basement door to see that Tommy is still at the bottom of the stairs. He can't hurt him.
Yeah, because they're pissed that he was grounded. Or not grounded, had detention.
Yes.
They're pissed about that.
Yeah. And he doesn't want to open the door. Finally, I think Phil opens the door, and we see a doll at the bottom of the stairs. It looks like it must be Tommy. Mm-hmm. And we also find out here that, well, really, Andy overhears Phil and Joanne in their room talking about how Phil wants to send Andy back, but Joanne doesn't.
Yeah.
Which
Terrible.
is so sad to hear them.
It's really sad. Yeah. It's sad that he overheard that.
Yeah. Kyle also hears, and she tries to confront Andy and basically tells him, you are the only one that you can count on.
Did you say confronts him? Did you mean comforts him?
Sure did. Fuck it, we're leaving. We're leaving it. No, actually, I'm just leaving.
Listen here, Andy.
Listen here, Andy. You're the only one you can fucking count on. You got it? We're leaving it. It's fine.
I love it. Okay. Okay, so it's nighttime.
Yes.
And Andy is like, I'm going to get him before he gets me. And he goes out of the kitchen and he gets an electric knife,
Yeah.
which like, I don't think I've ever owned one of those, but I've definitely seen them in movies.
Yeah.
In the 90s, specifically.
It feels like a 90s item.
It reminds me of like a turkey cutter.
I almost wrote turkey carver.
Yes.
Is that what it is? Maybe people got it for Thanksgiving.
Maybe. I'm not really sure, but he calls it a knife.
Yeah.
The dad calls it a knife. So Andy goes downstairs, and gosh, is he brave. What a brave little kid, because he knows how deadly Chucky is, how dangerous he is. So he goes downstairs, and he starts walking around the basement, and it's pitch black. He checks around every corner, and he even checks the washing machine and the dryer.
Yeah, he's like stabbing inside it.
Yeah, and as he's checking that, we see Chucky run in the background. We see him like behind a sheet or his shadow. And he runs, and Andy does like kind of turn around. Because he wants to get Chucky before Chucky gets him.
Right. Chucky eventually basically drops down from like, I don't know, above somewhere.
It like reminds
from the
me
rafters.
It reminds me of when Michael comes down in H2O.
Oh yeah,
You know,
like
it's
from
just
the
like
pole.
yeah.
He did not do a one-armed pull-up in this scenario. Chucky's arms are too short.
Yeah, he's little.
So he jumps on Andy's head, basically.
Yeah.
Andy drops the knife. There's commotion. There's a squabble. And eventually Andy does get the knife. He kind of like stabs Chucky behind him, right?
Yeah.
Stabs him in the head. Before anything else can happen, Phil opens the door. He's like, put the knife down. Because now he's like, oh, okay, this kid is really
Dangerous.
a little serial killer or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like at this point, I kind of would think this is the kid from The Omen. I don't know.
I mean, in this particular situation,
I'd be a little concerned.
I would be very concerned, of course. Of course.
So he's like, put the knife down.
However, I would also do my due diligence in researching what actually happened with his mother and him.
Yeah.
I would look into it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm surprised Joanne didn't look further, honestly.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You're like, hold on a second.
I don't expect it out of Phil, but I do expect it out of Joanne.
Yeah. We expected better, Joanne.
Come on, Joanne.
So Chucky has like a pole, some type of pole, and he uses it to trip Phil as he's walking down the stairs.
Yeah.
And Phil ends up falling kind of down the side of the stairs, but he's dangling upside down, hanging.
Oh my goodness.
And he comes face to face with Chucky.
Dude, I love this line. He like turns and looks at him and he's like, how's it hanging, Phil?
Yes.
It's classic Chucky.
And then he makes Phil fall all the way down, breaking his neck.
Yep.
Ugh. Freaks me out.
It's a pretty gross kill.
Yeah.
Because it's a very realistic kill.
Yeah.
It's like a trip and a fall that happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joanne, of course, freaks out. I mean, rightfully so for that reason. And
Joanne's cell. Listen, I don't particularly like the character of Joanne that much. I don't not like her, but
yeah.
this scene, my heart actually broke for her.
Yeah.
The actress like conveys that like horrifying grief and shock so well.
Yeah. And then she's by Phil's body. You know, we have to call the police. Andy walks up to her and she's like, "Get away from me!"
Yeah.
Which in that moment, I can't blame her because she doesn't know what the hell just happened.
Yeah.
Phil has been warning her this whole time about Andy.
Right.
She's not listening to him. And then this happens. You're like, oh, was there something I wasn't seeing? She doesn't know what's going on.
It's just such a sad scene for Andy.
Yeah, it
my
really
heart
is.
just always breaks for him.
It's sad for everyone involved, really, except Chucky. Fuck him.
But
I love him.
we love you, Chucky.
We love Chucky, even though he's the bad guy.
We stan.
So Kyle is basically the one to pack Andy up and send him off. Joanna's just in shock.
Yeah, Joanne's in shock. Kyle's like, you know, putting all this shit together. The cops are there. They're in the basement. They're like, you know, investigating what's going on. And then as this is all like going down, the foster care worker comes and picks up Andy and takes him to the center. So Kyle is alone at the house. Joanne is somewhere in the house, upstairs, whatever. She's having a hard time.
Yeah, and right before Andy walks out the door, he tells Kyle, he's still in the cellar. Don't let him get you too.
Yes. And Kyle doesn't really believe him, but she's unsettled by the situation.
She doesn't believe him, but she's like, just in case, she throws Chucky in the trash.
She does.
Yeah.
And I love that she does.
And the outside trash.
In the outdoor trash, yes. And then she goes over and she sits on the swing. She lights up a cigarette and she's just sort of, you know, casually swinging, and then all of a sudden we see the dirt is moving and there's the little good guy foot.
Yeah, she's like, what is this that I just kicked up?
Like these little good guy shoes.
If you're watching on YouTube, she has the Chucky, like his outfit colored shoes.
Yes.
I feel like that just came out so weird.
No, but
you
it's
know
true.
what I'm saying.
Yes.
You have shoes for every episode, I think, this loop.
You know what? I did premeditatively thought to myself that I was going to try a little harder.
I think you try hard every time. What do you mean? I'm
feel
over
like-
here in the same socks every episode.
Well, I mean, we're not displaying our feet.
Well, now we are. Next time I'm bringing all my shoes. Okay. So,
Should we leave that in?
Yes.
Okay.
so she goes back. Kyle goes back to the trash because she's like, what the fuck is going on? Chucky is gone.
Yeah, she notices the shoe and she's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Does she dig it up?
Yeah, she pulls the whole doll out.
Oh, she does. She does. And then she goes back. Chucky's not in the trash.
Yep.
And she is like, oh shit. Joanne is in the house. I got to go inside the house, which again, brave.
Yeah, she believes Andy now.
I wouldn't go back in the house.
Oh, hell no.
I'm just being honest. Sorry.
I'd be like,
sorry,
hey,
Joanne. I just start throwing rocks.
Yeah.
Joanne.
No, legit. I think I would just yell. I think she does, actually. She starts yelling Joanne. Joanne either doesn't hear her or maybe it's too late. We don't know.
We don't know. But she walks around and she very smartly gets a weapon. She gets like a knife, a hunting knife
Yeah.
from somewhere.
Yeah, her closet or something.
And she starts checking the house. And she slowly makes her way up to Joanne and Phil's room.
Yeah.
And we can hear the sewing machine going.
Just steady going.
Just steady going. And very slowly, Kyle approaches. She opens the door. She walks in. We see that Joanne is sitting at the sewing table, but she's not moving.
Yeah.
And as we get closer, Kyle says, Joanne? And then she turns her around. Oh no, Joanne is dead.
Joanne is dead and it looks like she's been strangled with her own fabric.
And there's like blood on her as well.
Yeah, at first I thought her throat was cut, but I think because the fabric was wrapped around her head too and he's the Lakeshore Strangler, I figured that he strangled her. I think. I don't actually know.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I
I
love
think the
that.
red was just the marks maybe.
Oh, I love that. Okay.
And so at this point, Chucky comes out of nowhere, attacks Kyle.
Yeah, he jumps on her.
And she basically prods him with a broken lamp. Like zaps him.
Yeah, she like is reaching for she grabs the lamp and
Yeah.
smart girl.
Breaks
Very
it
smart.
off like a beer bottle. I always wanted to do that. Just smash a bottle at the end of the table like you're going to shank someone.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I want to shank anyone.
No, but it's a cool visual.
I just think it would be fun to do. Have you ever done a rage room?
I've never done a rage room. I would love to do a rage room.
Oh, you would love to do a rage room. I've only done one once, and it is very cathartic.
We should definitely do a rage room together. I was going to say, I did a music video for Grab It's, and we did it in a bar, and we had sugar bottles.
Oh, like the sugar glass.
Yeah, so I didn't get to do one because I was like beating someone up the whole time.
Darn.
Just laying punches. But there were those it was cool to like see it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he eventually gets the upper hand on Kyle here in this debacle, and he makes her drive him to where Andy is.
Yes. And go ahead.
Sorry. I was gonna ask a question, and I'm like, do I even need to ask this question? Why is he so obsessed with it being Andy's body? Why doesn't he try to go into Kyle's body?
I think because Andy caused him so many problems in the first one, he has like a vendetta against him.
It's personal now.
I think so. And I think because also like getting into a children's body means his life is going to be longer, right?
That's true.
And he can get away with shit as a kid, probably. People won't suspect him.
And Chucky is 100% a misogynist, so you know he does not want to go in a woman's body. Not that way.
Absolutely and not. Yes. So he is sitting next to her. He tells her no funny business, just to drive. And she's telling him, like, I can't drive any faster. This is what is it?
Station wagon?
It's a station wagon because he's like, floor it.
Yeah.
Go faster. She's like, I can't. But then they get pulled over. Mm-hmm. And the cop comes over and Chucky tells her, like, you better not say anything.
Which, if she did, the cop's going to be like, okay, you're crazy.
Yeah, exactly. You're coming with me. This was the last thing they shot.
Oh.
And her and Chucky in the car that was shot on a soundstage, and the cop wasn't actually there. So she had to do all her lines to like it was filmed separately from the cops' point of view.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. It is neat, right? And there's a really cool picture of her going to kiss Chucky because I guess in between takes the puppeteers would like mess around.
Yeah.
And she said it's her favorite picture that she has.
Oh, I want to see it.
Yeah. I'll post it on like our stories or something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yes, they get pulled over, but she does get off with a warning.
Yes.
However, before the cop leaves, he looks at her and he's like, buckle up for safety. And I was just like, wow. Thinking about today, you are going to get a ticket if you're not buckled up.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And I looked this up because I don't know why. I just get nerdy about stuff sometimes. But the seatbelt laws for drivers did not go into effect in Illinois until 2003. So it makes sense why he was 2003. So
oh my God, I almost spit my drink out.
Spit take. There were already laws for like child seat safety, things like that, but not for a driver.
Do you remember booster seats?
Yeah.
Do you remember when the seatbelt used to go just around your lap?
Oh, before they had this thing? Yeah. Oh my
I remember
gosh.
that. Also, the cop points out that Chucky's nose is bleeding. Mm-hmm. And Kyle's so funny. She goes, you know, dolls that pee? He bleeds.
I know. I was like, good thinking on your feet.
She really did.
I don't know what the fuck I would have said.
No, I don't know either.
Yeah. So Chucky continues to yell at her now that they're driving again to floor it, hurry up, drive faster, whatever. He's just being a dick.
Yep.
And she's like, okay, goes faster, then slams on the brakes. Chucky flies through the windshield, but he's still on the hood. Mm-hmm. And then she crashes into a pole. It's one of those little poles. She hits it, so Chucky flies off the hood, and then he's in front of a fence. She tries to go crash into him there, and he jumps out of the way because now he's athletic.
Yes.
She gets out of the car, and very slowly, because she doesn't know where he is.
Uh-huh.
And he jumps up on her, has a knife to her neck, and he's like, playtime's over.
Yeah, I don't know why she would, I would have just gotten out of there.
I think, I imagine her car wasn't working after that. I don't know, but she crashed into a lot of things.
That's actually a really good point. Yeah, that's true. And you don't know how you're going to react in a situation like that anyways.
Yeah.
She's a teenager.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I always forget that too, because I do think of her as an adult, but she kind of carries herself as an adult. She might have been an adult in real life at this time, but also I think her character, it makes sense that she would carry herself older than she is, considering what she went through.
Absolutely. Yep, 100%.
So now we are back at the foster care center.
Yep.
And there's a fire drill. Someone pulled the fire alarm.
Ooh, I wonder who that could have been.
I don't know who would do such a thing. And so the foster care worker is taking Andy down the stairway, and they happen upon Kyle, who's holding a doll.
Uh-huh.
Chucky.
Yep.
And at this point, you know, the foster care worker, she recognizes Kyle because that's, I'm assuming, where Kyle came from.
Yeah.
And she says Chucky pulled the alarm because she's like, did you do this, Kyle? And she's like, no, he did. Which, of course, the lady's going to be like, what? And then Chucky stabs this poor woman. She falls into a photocopier.
It's the coolest kill.
And it starts copying a bunch of pictures of her face. Did you ever do that as a kid? Just copy things?
Yeah, my
like
hand.
Your whole head?
Yeah, your head.
So Chucky now makes Andy.
But wait. We just have to pause for 1 second.
Yeah.
That kill, I think, is pretty iconic. And the photocopies are landing on her dead body.
I didn't even notice that.
Is that not like hilarious? Like what?
I love that. It is so funny.
It's so funny and terrible.
I know. I was just thinking it's so funny to talk about something so brutal and be like, oh my gosh, I love that.
It was great.
So amazing. So now, you know, there's a whole commotion going on outside. Chucky makes Andy get into the back of this truck.
Yeah, they like run for like an open delivery truck.
Yeah. And the whole back of it is open the entire time.
Yes.
Kyle gets her car to work, starts following them, and she can see what's happening since that door is open. Chucky is starting to do his sacrifice.
Yeah, he's trying to do the ritual.
Kyle can see him. She starts honking her horn, swerving in front of that truck.
We have to talk about the truck driver.
Oh my gosh.
So she eventually gets the dude to like pull over.
By swerving in front of him.
By swerving in front of him. He is so aggressive towards her. I think he calls her a little bitch or something.
I mean, I will say she almost caused them to get into an accident. She did swerve in front of him, literally swerved in front of him to make him slam on his brakes.
Okay, I do, but come on.
I'm not trying to stick up for him, but at the same time, I would also be like, what the fuck is your problem?
I mean, yeah, I just felt like he's like a grown man. Like
he does grab her,
grabbing her.
Don't grab her.
Yeah, I thought his response was just pretty wild.
I think when your life is being threatened, I have to be like, okay, I get it.
No, okay,
I
that's
get
a
why
good
you'd
point.
be like, I will punch you in the fucking face.
It's a good point. No, I get you.
So whatever, he grabs her, she gets away. Of course, Chucky and Andy are not in the back of the truck anymore.
Yes.
But now they are back at the factory, the toy factory.
Why do you think Chucky brought him to the factory?
I was wondering if that was on purpose or just a coincidence, because he did just hop in a random truck, right?
Yeah. I'm just curious, like, why they ended up there. Like, why did Chucky want to go to the factory?
Maybe this is his his territory.
Like symbolic of something? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess I didn't really think about it. I kind of looked at it as a coincidence.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it is. I'm just in like the land of Child's Play.
Yeah.
I wonder what the character of Chucky was like thinking about when they went there. Like if he was specifically like, this is where I want to do the ritual.
Maybe that there's a bunch of decoys of him that he can use to his advantage too.
Oh, good. Yep, good thinking. I love it. I'll take that. I'll take it.
So yeah, they're back at the good guys factory. And this bad boy is stacked to the ceiling with all of these yellow good guy doll boxes. Like you can see on the YouTube video back here.
Yeah. And apparently there were like 500 of them had actual dolls, and then 500 of them were like a poster on a box.
Printed, yeah.
Yeah, like it wasn't real.
I love this scene so much. I love this aesthetic. All of the boxes. I don't know why.
Dude, I want to go there so bad. I want to go to that factory.
Yeah.
I love it. Honestly, the whole set design, I guess the set designer said this is his most proudest work.
I love that.
Yeah.
So now Chucky starts his ritual again. This is like, I don't know, the 5th time he started this damn ritual. But the storm clouds are starting to roll in, and that's how we know it's working.
Yep.
But it's not working because Chucky's nose is still bleeding. He says like the whole thing, it sounds like.
He does. Yeah. He goes through the whole ritual. It doesn't work.
Yeah. The clouds start to go away and he notices his nose is bleeding. He starts freaking out.
Yeah.
I think he is like, no.
Like he actually gets like mad.
Yeah, because he says actually, it's too late. I'm trapped. Which was interesting. Considering like later movies.
Yeah.
But
well, he doesn't know though.
Right.
You know?
That's very true. Very true. So Andy escapes at this point because I think Chucky's just having a fucking meltdown.
I mean, at this point,
no pun intended.
He fucking loses it.
Yeah.
Like he's like yelling. He's like, I'm effing trapped in here. Like he's just like this is in a match when you like switch gears.
Oh yeah,
This
yeah.
this was Chucky switching gears.
We got to kick it up a notch.
Woo, it was crazy. And Kyle swoops in and she drops like a ton of boxes on him.
Yeah. So Andy gets to escape with Kyle. They're going through a maze of boxes.
This maze was inspired and a nod to The Shining.
Oh, the maze outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you rewatch the scene, it's like, yeah, I can totally see that. Because it is. It's like this giant maze of all these boxes. And then you start to see the machines. And for some reason, I'm not entirely sure why, they start climbing up one of the machines.
Yes. Okay. Did you have Caesarland? Probably not. Where you were?
What is it?
Caesarland?
No.
I think a lot of people didn't. It might have been a regional thing. Caesarland was Little Caesar's version of, I was about to say Chucky, of Chuck E. Cheese. Oh, it was Chucky. Chuck E. Cheese.
Little Caesar's Pizza?
Little Caesar's Pizza, which I
Well,
also
it
forget.
originated in Detroit, right?
I was going to say, I also forget that's a Michigan thing, so that makes sense.
Oh, no, but I did do Chuck E. Cheese.
Okay, so Caesarland was a version of Chuck E. Cheese, and it had a slide that looked just like this conveyor belt they're climbing. So it's all these tiny little rolling pins, basically. And when they show, so Kyle climbs it, Andy's trying to climb it, you know, Chucky's trying to get him. He eventually gets kind of knocked to where he starts falling down the slide, sliding down the slide.
Yeah.
And they show this POV of Andy from like beneath where he's like, like kind of going down like that. That is what that slide was like.
Really?
It was so uncomfortable. And most people that I talk to have never been to Caesarland. They don't know what I'm talking about. But yes, it's like this rolling pin slide that hurt so bad.
That sounds like the most 80s/90s thing ever.
It was 90s into the 2000s because I actually went to my, I had my 16th birthday party there.
Oh, that is so
And it was
cute.
like ironic, like, oh, we're going to Caesarland. But really, we're like, hell yeah, we're going to Caesarland. We're getting all these tickets.
I love that.
Yeah.
I was not a fan of, like, I don't want to say playgrounds because I loved playgrounds, but like Chuck E. Cheese, like ball pits.
I was just going to say, ball pit always smelled like feet.
I think the whole, like, the tunnels you walk through and all that. As a kid, I think it's because I'm a Virgo. I just was not a fan of those things.
I thought you were going to say germaphobe.
Well, that too. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, yeah, those things, they always smelled bad and kids are always pissing in them.
I know. And like throwing up and like, ew, no, not for me. But I do remember the animatronic band and that was terrifying.
Oh my gosh. Did you ever go up close to the stage and try to like really get a good look at them and it's even more terrifying?
It's so scary. You should look up pictures of what they looked like because it's absolutely terrifying. We should post them on Instagram.
Like with their skin off?
Oh, no. I was just talking.
I just sounded like a serial killer. I thought you meant like what the metal looks like underneath. With their skin off.
Between that and the flower beds. I'm going, what?
Why did I say it like that? With their skin on.
With their skin.
We're going to show you both. You know what? We're going to find pictures of both because people have talked about the skeletons of them basically and how terrifying they are.
I'm sure they are.
Okay, so Chucky chases Andy up this slide from hell and Andy escapes. Chucky gets his hands stuck.
This effect is so cool and it's so brutal.
It is brutal because Chucky is turning human now.
Yes, and his hand gets stuck under like a gate.
Yeah.
Like they close like a gate on it and he can't get it out. So instead of like messing around, he just starts pulling his arm and hand and just like it pulls it apart.
Yeah,
he misses his hand now.
I need to rephrase that. No, leave it. Just leave it. It sounds like you're translating from English. He misses his hand now. I love it. His hand is torn off. I can only imagine how the Patreon bonus episode for this is going to go.
Oh my God.
We have a Patreon coming. I have to say that because we don't even know when this episode is going to come out. If it hasn't already come out, it's coming. And if it has come out, there's going to be a bonus episode.
Chucky lost his hand.
He lost his hand. There we go.
Woo!
Ooh, it's going to be delirious. Okay. So Kyle and Andy are climbing through this factory line, like the whole line, all the machines that are coming down on them. And
yes. And Chucky is like, I need a hand. I know what I'll do. He takes the end of his knife, like the handle, like pulls it off, and then he sticks his like arm with the missing hand into the knife so that the knife is his new hand.
Oh, you have a doll like that.
I do.
Is
The
it that
doll,
one?
it's right up there.
Oh, it's up there.
Yeah, that's the doll.
I don't know if they can see it in the shot, but we'll take pictures of it.
Yeah, it's really cool. But it's one of the grossest. It actually makes me like coil.
Because
like,
his
ugh.
hand, his wrist looks human now. It's bleeding. So
Yeah.
you're just picturing doing that to your cut.
Cool effect though.
Yeah, and
Great
just a
effect.
cool idea of like now you have a Chucky with a blade for a hand.
Oh yeah.
Has the blade ever considered doing that?
Cutting
To
his
really-
hand off and turning.
To really commit to the bit?
Has your husband ever thought about cutting off his own hand and sticking a knife in there in its place?
You should ask him that on your next date night.
Okay.
We keep going. Okay, coming back to it. So yes, there is a worker there, by the way.
Yeah, he's like a mechanic or like security guard.
Yeah, and he apparently doesn't see or hear any of this happening.
No, but he does see something on the video surveillance that makes him go, why is the machine backed up? Because what's happening is all of the Chucky dolls that were on the production line have now started to pile up.
Yeah.
And it's stalling the machines. So he's like, now I gotta go deal with this. He reminded me of the dude from the Clunky Chicken, not the Clunky Chicken, in Demonic Toys.
Oh yeah,
It
yeah.
reminded me of that.
Yeah. And now he's gonna climb into this machine to fix the jam.
And this specific machine is the machine that puts the eyeballs into the dolls. Now, I don't know why it is such an aggressive machine. I suppose that the eyeballs need to get really stuck into the head.
Yeah.
But they make sure to show you like exactly what this machine does.
Yep.
Because it is very scary.
Yes. So probably unsurprising to you, Chucky hits this guy onto a conveyor belt and he goes right into the machine that shoves the doll eyes into his eyes.
Into his sockets.
There we go. Sockets. That's what I'm looking for.
Did it not remind you of dolls?
Anything with doll eyes and a human is going to remind me of dolls for sure.
Yeah. And when I was rewatching it, I was like, AK, dolls.
The movie Dolls. If you don't already know, we have an episode on it. Go listen to it. It's one of our faves.
We loved it.
So now Kyle and Andy are basically pressing all these buttons, right? They're trying to figure out what the fuck to do. And they're making all these deformed looking Chuckies come out. So it's basically like a Chucky doll with extra limbs and it's melted in some places and things are all in the wrong spot for this doll.
Yep.
The line's all fucked up. And then the real Chucky pops up out of nowhere. Once again, he loves doing that.
Yeah.
And Andy knocks him over. She like knocks him back onto the conveyor belt with something. She hits him with something.
Yeah.
He starts getting stabbed with the machine that would be threading the hair.
It is so gross. It made me think of when you have you ever been like stapled before?
Yeah, I got stapled in my butt in a wrestling match.
Oh my God.
Taya did that to me.
We love Taya.
We do love Taya,
Taya-
except when she stapled my butt.
But Taya has a new song out and it's incredible.
Oh my gosh, yes, go listen to it. Search Taya Valkyrie on Spotify. It's so catchy. It's a Christmas song.
It's really good.
We love her.
So, yes, Chucky is getting hair like stapled to him.
It's so brutal because anytime someone is getting stabbed multiple times, it is so disturbing to me.
Yeah, like makes your skin crawl.
Yes,
Yeah.
even in a movie that's not a horror movie. Like there's a scene in Goodfellas where he opens the trunk and just starts shanking this guy that's in the trunk and it fucks me up in the head. Oh, I don't like it.
I think it's like anytime, even like thinking about getting stabbed, I just think about like my organs and stuff. It like really scares me.
Yeah, and he's basically getting stabbed with this needle just threading him and it's fast. Like,
Yeah.
brrr, yeah.
Yep.
And so then he goes in the next part of the machine that closes and he comes out and it's just like I don't even know how to describe it. I wrote deformed as an understatement. So it's like a blob of limbs is what we see.
Yes.
And blood and guts.
Yep.
And so Andy and Kyle are, going through the factory. The worker who got his eyes punctured, his dead body is now upside down and swinging.
Yes. I believe Chucky, I would imagine, has done this.
Yes. The body swings into Kyle, knocks her onto a conveyor belt.
Yes.
She's unconscious. The conveyor belt is moving.
Uh-huh.
Then we see that Chucky is actually alive. Only his legs got chopped off.
Yeah, he's still kind of functioning.
Yeah. So that's why we saw a blob that was just legs, basically.
Yep.
And so Chucky goes to get Andy. He's going to stab him. His knife gets stuck. And Andy realizes that there's like this pipe that has a drip of hot wax onto Chucky and it's burning him.
It's plastic, right?
That makes sense. Like hot plastic, like melted plastic.
Yeah, it's like a huge vat of hot, scalding hot plastic.
Yeah. And so he opens that bad boy and it just blasts Chucky in the face.
Dude. And if you like think about Brad Dourif like doing the vocal of this happening to Chucky.
Because not only the screams from being tortured, but also when Chucky gets angry and he yells, his voice is terrifying.
Oh yeah, it's scary.
And that's a lot. That's a lot of that's very taxing on the throat.
For sure, yeah.
So now Chucky's all melted. He's all fucked up.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay, like we'll get there. We're almost there. So Andy saves Kyle from the machine. She's like about to get who knows what. She's about to go into the machine. Andy saves her, and we get one more jump scare from the melted Chucky.
I said, Chucky pops up for one last scare. He looks like a gross melted pile of shit. It looks gnarly. That's what my notes say.
I wrote, we get one more jump scare from melted Chucky, who now looks like some type of mummy / zombie / Cabbage Patch doll.
Yes. And so Kyle sticks a tube in his mouth.
Yes.
And is it air?
It has to be some kind of air.
Okay, yeah. So, and his head starts expanding.
Oh my gosh. Like, he really looks like a Cabbage Patch Kid here.
He looks like my Mad Balls version of him.
Yeah.
Right? And his head explodes.
Explodes. Just the head. Body is still there, but head explodes. Andy and Kyle get to leave together. They have a happy ending.
Okay, but this whole interaction between them, like the sun is up, they're walking together, and he's like, Kyle, where are we going? And she's like, home. And he's like, where is that? And she's like, I have no idea.
And that's how it ends. So where are you going? Back to the foster care place, I guess?
I guess. There was an alternate ending.
Okay.
But the director really wanted it to end on a happy note.
Oh, so the alternate ending was going to be...
It was going to imply that Chucky was like still alive.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was going to be the original ending of the screenplay is what they were going to use, right? And to where it's like a Chucky head comes off the line. It's a new Chucky head being formed and it like smiles or something. So it's like, oh shit, Chucky's still alive.
Right.
Which they didn't want to do because they didn't know if there was going to be a sequel. But now it's funny because we see movies do that all the time, trying to push for a sequel, right?
Yeah, exactly. Chucky's head blowing up was a homage to the film The Fury.
Okay, I never saw that.
I haven't either. Don Mancini, I think, was a fan of the movie.
Okay.
I think it's funny, like the exploding head. That was like definitely a thing of like the 80s and the early 90s.
Oh, yeah.
Exploding heads.
Yeah.
I think of scanners.
Yes.
Right? But yeah, it was definitely like a thing.
Yeah.
Exploding heads.
The last thing I wrote was, okay, he's dead now for real, right?
Right?
Spoiler alert, there are a lot more movies.
There are a ton.
One thing I love about this franchise is, at least with the first few, each one, or maybe the first 4 from what I can recall off the top of my head, each one starts where the last one left off. And I love that.
I love that in movies in general.
Yes.
And I really love it in the Chucky verse.
Yeah. Because each one, I mean, this is a spoiler, I'm sorry, but Chucky dies in each one.
Yep.
But he comes back.
Yeah.
And they always start off, however he died, they're going to start it off with that and show you how they fixed him.
Like they didn't ignore the events of the prior film.
Yeah, they're not just like, he's back. They're like, yeah, we know he died in a crazy way where he should not be able to come back, but guess what? He's back.
He's going to come back. Yeah, I like that too. I appreciate it. I mean, you know, I'm a huge fan, obviously, of the franchise. I love Chucky. I love his quips, right?
Yeah.
I think this movie as a whole, it just tells such a great story.
I agree.
There are like the whole movie is an awesome ride.
Yeah.
And there's real heart to it. There's emotion to it. These are like real people.
Yeah.
And I think Alex Vincent, is that his name?
Yes.
Who plays Andy?
Yep.
I think he does such a fantastic job as a little kid actor.
He does.
I guess he said that this was the first time that he really understood like critics and criticism, and it was really hard on him when this came out, and the critics like shat all over it.
Oh no.
Yeah, he had a hard time with that.
Oh my gosh, that is heartbreaking because he was so young.
I know.
He had to have been under 10 here, right?
I would think so, yeah. because I think he's like 6 or 7 in the first one, maybe.
That's horrible.
Something like that. But they do say, from like what I saw with the cast, they say that John LaFia was a really great director. He made the set like fun. People were laughing. It was a good. It sounded like the first one was a lot harder to make. Mm-hmm. The vibes were different. We'll just say that.
Yeah, the director was different. The vibes were different.
The vibes were different. And this, very different. This was a good experience, I think. Not saying the first one wasn't, but it was just, I think, a happier experience for everyone. And it makes me happy to hear that people that worked on the film, like, really take pride in it.
Yeah.
You know, like you really, if you get a chance to watch these documentaries, like please do. One is on Shudder. The other one is called Living with Chucky, I think.
Yeah. And I think that's on Prime.
Yeah. And they're both really good. I'll link them obviously in the show notes. But yeah, I love Child's Play 2.
Me too. It's one of my favorites of the whole franchise.
Oh yeah, like absolutely. And this cover is iconic.
Love it so much.
I actually have a print of it. I just need to get it framed.
Yeah.
To go up on the,
To find a spot on your wall somewhere.
Gosh, it's bleeding into the other room, but I love it.
Well, make sure you follow our socials at Chainsaw Girls Pod, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. If you're not already watching these videos, they do premiere at this time anyway. Monday, 12 p.m. Eastern. It is a premiere, so you can live chat with fans and us.
Absolutely. And we are launching a Patreon. Have we done it already? Maybe. But if we haven't, it's coming.
Yes. We don't know exactly when this is going to air, so that's why we're not sure the time frame on this, but it's coming.
We appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for listening. If you haven't already, please give us a 5-star review. It does help the podcast grow. Okay, bye.